Hey there. So let's cover part two. This is our application problem. This is not something you would typically see in um, problem solving or college algebra trig. This is something, however, you need to understand. There's a different portion that I would like to cover once we get to the linears um, for my problem solving and college algebra students. So but understanding how this works and understanding how to be able to read a graph is very important. Maggie has a job working in an office for $10 an hour. She has another job driving a tractor that pays $12 an hour. Maggie works at both jobs and earns $480 in 1 week. Now, it says write an equation that gives the number of hours X that she worked for $10 an hour. So that would be 10 times X, $10 per hour, and the number of hours Y that she worked for $12 an hour. So that would be $12 times Y. And then both jobs together, she earns $480 in a week. That would be the equation of the line, because she works one job paying $10 an hour, another one paying $12 an hour, and together they pay her $480 for the week. So that's your equation. Now it says find the intercepts and interpret what they mean in the context of each scenario. So the first one we're going to find is X. So let Y equals 0 and solve for X. So this is for the X-intercept. I always tend to start with this one. That's going to be 10X plus 12 times 0 is equal to 480. Solving for X is gone. We've got 10X is equal to 480. Divide both sides by 10. Excuse the dog snoring. And that's equal to 48. I'm going to do this part first. Let's find the y-intercept, and then we'll do the interpretation, where we let x equal 0. So this is 10 times 0 plus 12y is equal to 480. This is gone. We're left with 12y equals 480. Divide both sides by 12. Y is equal to 40. Oh, yeah, 40. All right, now let's do the interpretation piece. This is 48, 0, and this is 0, 40. There are your intercepts. Now, one of the things you need to understand is X is when she's working at the office, and that's 48 hours. Y is when she's driving the tractor, and in this case is 0 hours. So when you're doing an interpretation, interpret what they mean. That is always a sentence to represent what it is. You can't just write this. It must be in sentence form. So the sentence should be when Maggie, the answer for that, when Maggie works 48 hours at the office, she works 0 hours on the tractor. That is just what this intercept, this x-intercept means. Okay, we're going to do the same thing over here. 0 is her tractor time. I'm sorry, is her office time. And 40 is her tractor hours. So writing the interpretation, when Maggie works 40 hours on the tractor, she works 0 hours at the office. Now, these are just intercepts. These are not a representation of what she actually does. Understand that. So in the next part, it says graph each equation from the intercepts using only the first quadrant. And it has to only be the first quadrant because you can't work a negative number of hours. Excuse me 1 second, I'll be right back. Okay, now we're going to graph the equation from the intercepts using only the first quadrant. Again, I said you can't have negative hours you're working, so that's why we're just using the first quadrant where everything is positive. The smallest thing you can have is a 0 working for both. All right, this is our X and our Y. I always like to label. And we're just going to graph our intercepts. So we've got 48, 0, and 0, 40. All right. What is going on here? So for these, we need to come up with, we don't have 48 spaces here for X, and we don't have 40 for our Y. So we're going to have to make it smaller. Make it whatever you want. You can make it 10s, you can make it 5s. I'm just going to do 8s because I think that's going to work well for both. So if this is 8, so this is 0, 8. I'm going to give it spaces actually. I'm going to make this one 8, 1, 2, 16, 1, 2. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 6 is 48. 8 times 7 is 56. And do the same thing over here. We're going to go by 2s. So there's 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, and 56. All right. Now our intercepts are going to be 48, 0. Here's that one. And 0, 40 right there. Now this creates a line. Hope this is long enough. Barely. Barely. Okay, fantastic. All right, so the next thing is, we've done that, we've graphed the equation. I'm not going to write the name of the line. From the graph, find how many hours she worked at $12 an hour. So this one's going to be at $10 an hour. And this one's going to be $12 per hour. If she worked 36 hours, or $12, if she worked 36 hours at $10 per hour. So where is 36? If we think of each of these as 4, because that's what it would be, this would be 36 right here. Where is that hitting on the $12? It's hitting right there. And what is that for the $12 per hour? So that it looks to be, if this would be 8, 9, 12, so this would be probably 10. It would be about 10 hours. Can you see that? So if we look, this is the 36. Come up here and find it on the line, and then look to see where that's hitting. It's right in between the 8 and the next line. So this would be 12. So if it's between 8 and 12, that's going to be 10. So it's about 10 hours. If she worked 36 hours for $10 an hour, she had to have worked about 10 hours at $12 an hour. This line is representing the working of the 2 hours. The next one says from the equation, find how many hours she worked at $12 if she worked 36 hours at the $10 per hour. So now we need to go back to our equation, which is 10x plus 12y is equal to 480. And we're going to plug in 36 for our 10 and solve for y. So that'd be 360 plus 12y is equal to 480, subtracting 360 from both. This is 0. 12y is equal to 480 minus 360 is 120. Ooh, we were on. Divided by 12. So y equals 10. So yeah, 10 hours. We were good. Woohoo. All right. From the graph, find how many hours she worked at $12. So do this to make sure you understand how to read the graph before you do the actual algebraic portion. Find how many hours she worked at $12 if she worked 20 hours at 10. So finding 20 hours at 10, 16, 17, 18, that would be here. Find that on the graph. That looks to be right about there. Like this. All right. And it's actually not quite on the 24. So I'm going to say about 23 because it's near. About 23 hours. All right. Because if you'll notice, if this comes up here, it doesn't quite touch right at the corner. It's just below it. So, and there's 4 in between here. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I'm saying it's about 23. From the equation, find how many hours she worked at $12 if she worked 20 hours at $10 per hour. So again, 10x plus 12y equals 480. And I'm going to plug in 20 for our 10 for our x and solve for our y. So this would be 200. Subtracting 200 from both sides of the equal sign. Dividing both sides by 12. And I got 23.33333. And this is ours. So couldn't get much closer to that. That is it for the application portion. I'll see you in the next video. Let me know what questions you have.